Ready?
Yeah.
So here's the finished product that I got. I talk about later in the video how I angled the bottom of the wing up just a little bit to give it some lift out of water. Like when you're first starting out, so it'll lift up a little bit quicker and get you up on the foil, because it's kind of hard to control when it's just the board out of the water and not the rest of the foil. It wants to almost like dive under a little bit, and there was one point where I was getting up and I was riding for, I don't know, like 20, 30 feet, and the board was like just right under the water. It was really weird. I think also just learning how to do the foil. Like I've never done this before, so that's probably part of it. Something else to note, in the build video I talk about just using the insulation foam. It wasn't strong enough, and the resin that I used ended up kind of melting the foam, so it took away some of the structure. So I had to put a piece of plywood over the top, and then there's a 2x4 under here, like in between the foam and this wood, there's a 2x4, which is screwed onto the bottom of the mast plate. And then this piece of wood just rests on top and is screwed on to that piece of wood. And then I had to use expanding foam on the outside, and I shaped that just to kind of give it like a more tapered edge, because this wood sticks up just a little bit. So going forward, I think I'll keep the same wing shape. That worked pretty well, but I'll make the board out of only wood and stack like 2 pieces of wood up on top of each other, pieces of plywood, and then shape it that way. I think that'd be a lot easier, and then just fiberglass over that. And it'll be easier and stronger to connect it to the mast. So as you can see here, I just got the main wing cut out. It's just kind of a rough cut now, but I did add a little bit of an airfoil shape. So this is just kind of an airplane style. I'm not sure how much this will help in the water. I am planning on giving it a slightly higher angle of attack in hopes that that will help lift it up, but this is just kind of a prototype stage. Here's the set of plans I'm working off of. If you want to pause the video, this is what I came up with. So here's the main wing, and I went for a 23 inch, but I actually went a little bit larger. I think this is a 25 or a 26 inch wide. And then 6 inches at the widest point here. And then I'm gonna make the fuselage here 26 inches from trailing edge to leading edge on the second wing. And I'm gonna try and shoot for a 3-inch gap between the trailing edge and the leading edge of the mast. At the widest point, I'm gonna kind of taper the fuselage, but at the widest point, I want it to be 2 inches, but that could change. And then the trailing wing, I think I'm gonna shoot for 15, but that also could change. Here's the mast, 4 inches by 28. So I think I'm just gonna use a 2x4 for this and shape it down. And that was the airfoil shape I was going for, but that's kind of what I have now. So it's a more traditional airplane style. And then so it's an even taper in the back, and then it comes down a little bit steeper in the front and shallower on the bottom. So I've got all my pieces cut out and painted now. So here's the front wing that I showed you, the back wing, and this is the fuselage that I'm gonna be using. So there's 2 flat spots, one here and then one here, and it's gonna sit like this. So one of the flat spots down here will connect to the front wing, and the other flat spot will help connect to the back wing. And I think I'm gonna angle this down just a little bit in order to get it to pitch up and make it easier to get out of the water. And then here's the mast that I got. It is a 2x6, and I shaped it in kind of an airfoil, a symmetrical airfoil. And then that'll just sit right on top of here. This is what I'm gonna be using to fiberglass. So I have 8 square feet of it here. And this is a number 2 thickness. So I think that's like a medium-ish thickness. It seems pretty hefty though. This resin actually comes with a hardener, but just in case I bought some extra. And I have 3 sheets of these, and that should be enough to do this and the board. And for the board, I cut out of 2-inch insulation foam and just shaped it using sandpaper and an angle grinder. I think I got a pretty good shape going here. And to mount the mast, I have this piece cut out and slotted in here. And then that'll all get fiberglassed in. And I think I'm gonna mount it before I do the fiberglass. And I just have it painted black up there because I'm gonna paint it black, tape over it, do a stripe, and then paint the rest of it blue. And if you didn't know, spray paint kind of melts this pink insulation foam. So just if you decide to spray paint whatever you make, just beware of that. Something else to note, that if you're doing this at home, building this out of wood, kind of the same way I did, what really helped was screwing the pieces of wood together before you glass over it. I've seen in some videos people will like glass each individual wing, the fuselage and the mast, and then stick it all together while the fiberglass is still kind of tacky. And I don't know, I thought it was easier just to screw it all together so you have the shape and then you can glass over it that way. And I think that'll make it a little bit stronger in the end.